Dicebreaker's PAX Unplugged 2022 coverage is presented by Ivy Studio and Mythic Mischief. Hello and welcome back to PAX Unplugged 2022. We're on day 3 of the show. It's Sunday. We are closing out the weekend with, once again, some more games that we have played and seen here in the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Philadelphia. There's a lot of different P words. I'm from Britain. It's very confusing to me. It's not Portsmouth. That's the only other one I know. I'm Matt Jarvis. I'm joined by normally our man in Texas, but our man in Philadelphia with us, Chase Carter. Welcome.
Yeah, the resident U.S. citizen here.
Yeah.
Tried to lead you through this weekend. I think I did a fairly good
Yeah,
job.
thanks for translating, localizing, all of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Once again, we're going to chat about some of the games that we've seen. If you haven't gone and checked out the other videos from this weekend, go and check them out. We've played plenty of games, lots of good stuff. But obviously, come back once you watch those and check out day 3. But for now, let's get into it. So I'm going to dive in with a game that I went and saw. I didn't actually get to play it, but they gave me a run through of the game. And I was kind of really interested by it. It was one of the games I wanted to see coming into PAX Unplugged this year. And the reason for that, I'll be honest with you, Chase, it wasn't because of gameplay, it wasn't because of any particular big name attached, it was because this game has sky whales in it.
Oh.
Big flying whales.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
What a sale.
It was a great sale. So this is Mistwind. So yes, it's a game that takes place in a world full of sky whales. Those sky whales are used to transport goods around the world. Actually, they said that the world that they've created, they plan to use in other games as well. So hopefully it won't be the last time that we see these sky whales. But you kind of start with one whale, and you're making your way across this world, and you're having to build routes. So there are like full-on route cards, like the Ticket to Ride cards that you get, where you need to go from A to Z. But instead of, Philadelphia to Boston, it's like place on sky whale map to place on sky whale map. But while you're moving your whales along, you can also start to build outposts that hurry them along further. And you're not just building these routes for the fun of it. You're also looking to then deliver goods between places. So places will request certain goods, and you will be able to load up your little, they had the sky whale miniatures, it was a prototype.
Oh, good.
But you can plonk a little cube in the miniature itself, fly it along, drop it off, take a token, score some extra points. So yeah, it's like a mixture of like the route building, kind of pick up and deliver stuff, combined with this like really fun theme of just whales floating around delivering stuff.
It sounds a little similar to a game y'all saw at Essen that used, I believe, is oxen or like bison to carry goods with carts.
Oh yeah, I think it was called Yak.
Yeah, yak. This is like yak, but not yaks. Sky whales.
Yeah, I feel like there's been like a recent trend of just like, I don't know, pretty amicable animals, if I can get the words out, like a lot of anthropomorphic stuff where they're, doing jobs, flying stuff around, and this fits into that. Like, the art's really lovely. Again, it was a prototype I was looking at, but you can kind of tell that it's pretty clean.
Yep.
And one of the other interesting things is that around the board, there are a set of action cards. So down 2 of the sides, I think they are like locked. They are always the same. Although they did say in the future they might make them so you can flip them over. They'll change from game to game.
Right.
But for the whole game, they stay the same. But on the other 2 longer edges, those cards represent the actions you can do, but they will change. And there's an element of kind of worker placement in there, in that you have these tokens, and you activate each action by playing the corresponding numbered token to that slot. So if you want to do action number 3, you got to play a 3 to it. But say, for instance, Chase, you had already played your number 3 there. I couldn't then do that action.
Oh, it locks you out.
Yeah, so you need to kind of think ahead. And to make you think ahead even more is the fact that you have 5 tokens, 1 to 5. There are 5 possible actions, but you only use 4. And you get rid of one at the start of your turn, not at the end. So you need to really think ahead in terms of what actions do I want to do? Where are people likely to block me off? Because if you throw away the wrong number right out of the opening, you can't then like switch to it later on. You gotta know where you're going.
That's very interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. So it was Mistwind, like I say. I think it's hitting Kickstarter in March next year. Like I say, I saw a prototype. The components were pretty rough and ready, but they were, they looked good. The miniatures looked good. But I think it could be really interesting. Like I say, it's kind of got that Ticket to Ride vibe, but with added whales.
I think if they're wanting to use this board game to build out a sort of connected world through a bunch of titles, a game where you're going from destination to destination over like a wide scale is a really good introduction to the physical world itself.
Yeah, it's really neat. And like, I would love, for instance, I don't know, if they made an RPG where you're then like traveling this world on the back of a sky whale, and you're like the crew of it.
Yes.
That would be fun. So I think the world has a lot of promise. The gameplay, from what I saw, like seemed really interesting. Again, like this mixture of worker placement, picking actions, route building, like Ticket to Ride, and then like pick up and deliver stuff. So, but it didn't seem massively complicated or heavy.
Good.
It seemed to be like quite light, like much like a whale in the sky. To very neatly wrap up that section.
Very good.
One of the other games that I saw was, oh gosh, it was Super Show. It's a wrestling card game. So this was, it's actually a game that came out a number of years ago, I think in about 2016. I hadn't come across it before. And as I was chatting to them, they said like, oh, we have like 400 characters now.
Oh, what?
It's a lot of characters.
Wow.
Yeah, so they said like, yeah, we launched with 2 in 2016 and now we have about 400. And it's like, that's a lot. Even
incredible.
in 6 years,
Yeah.
that's a lot of characters. So this is really interesting. So like I say, it's a wrestling card game. It is head-to-head. And it is, the way it was kind of taught to me is it's basically a bit like Magic the Gathering Commander, which I know you were a fan of.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And I've played a bit of as well. So as in Magic the Gathering Commander format, you have one card, and that is kind of like your leader character. In this case, it's your wrestler.
Sure.
So they have like a particular ability, and the deck is defined by who they are. And the deck in this case is their moves. So like headlocks, slams, grapples, all that kind of thing, submission moves. And it's a wrestling match. You are looking to wear the other person down, like put them in a headlock, eventually pin them down, get them to counter free and tap out.
Right.
That's how you win. And to do so, you can play cards. One of the kind of interesting things about this game, and I think it's going to be divisive among people, is
Okay.
that it's not just like you go, I go, you go, I go. We both roll dice at the start of every turn, and those correspond to like attributes on our character cards. So
Yeah.
technique, submission, grappling, and whoever gets the higher value goes. So it could be that you have literally like 10 turns where you just go because you roll higher.
Right.
And definitely I had moments where I just rolled like crap, basically, and my opponent was just punching me again and again, just hitting me in the corner.
Yeah, random chance is sort of the death of tactical strategic play, so it's interesting. But it is a short game. It's supposed to be like quick and easy. So I guess the other side of that is if you do lose, it's not like a 50-minute match that is
Exactly,
all of a sudden
yeah.
sunk.
Like they taught me to play in 5 minutes. I think a match at like 10.
Yeah.
And although you're right, it's not going to be as tight as something like Magic or those kind of more tactical games, it does feel like a wrestling match.
Right.
Because it has that kind of swinginess.
Yeah.
Feels like one person just gets like momentum and keeps going, and the other person, is getting beat in a corner, but actually it doesn't matter so much because the theme is there.
Right.
So yeah, then you get into playing cards once you've rolled your dice, and you can play. There are 3 different types of cards. There are like lead cards, so that's like the opening of your combo. There are follow-up cards that you can only play once you played a lead, and then there are finisher like moves.
Yeah.
So we'll get into finishers in a moment. That's obviously how you win. We'll get there. But the leads and follow-ups are basically, you draw cards. It's not like you have health. The main thing is about eventually just getting to the point where you're able to pull off that finisher.
Right.
So a lot of the cards will boost those particular stats. So you might play a card and it's like draw 2 cards and you'll get a +3 to grapple.
Okay.
So from then on you might want to play like more grapple cards. So there's like some interesting kind of combo stuff in there. It does feel a bit like a wrestling match. And when you eventually get down to trying to go for a finisher, it means that it once again comes down to dice rolls, and you get free because you get free taps. And yeah, it's luck driven. It definitely, like I say, it's not as tight as Magic. I don't think it's, if you're going to go in expecting like a real tight wrestling Magic the Gathering alike, it's not that. But like you say, it's short, it's sweet, it's like swingy. It definitely gets by on the fact that it has a lot of characters. It has a very simple kind of premise.
Right.
It's, it's very light entertainment.
The game I watched you play, you had a very spirited person who was leading you through the demo, but it very much looks like the kind of game that tells stories, that you can get those combos, someone's 10 cards in, all of a sudden you throw an elbow, swing the inertia of the match, and come back for a win. And that's a cool story, and I definitely like that for a game that only takes 10 minutes. It doesn't feel as bad to lose when you can just shuffle up and play again.
Absolutely, and I think the other interesting thing is again, it's super accessible, and compared to Magic, where you can spend hours constructing a very meta deck, there's a lot of thinking about things. Here, you have a 30-card deck for every character. All of those cards are numbered 1 to 30. And to customize your deck, which you can do, you can add in different attacks, different moves. You literally just swap say, for instance, number 5 to number 5. That's
Easy.
it, like 5 for 5. So it's like a direct swap. That means it always stays balanced as well, apparently. And yeah, like I say, they've got like 400 characters. They've got a load of separate cards. It's been going 6 years, but it sounds like it's, yeah, presumably been going well for them because they've done a lot with it.
Yeah, it sounds like if you get it now, there's a lot to sort of chew through, and you have a lot of content to like bring to the table.
Yeah, so it was a good laugh, you know. Like there aren't as many wrestling like board games and card games out there as you might think. And I think this like feels true to wrestling. Like it is swingy. Like it will be frustrating at points. You'll get beat in a corner and then just pinned to the mat, but that's wrestling, I guess.
Yep, that's wrestling.
That's all for the moment, but for now, a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Eric from Bloat Games. Today we're showing off Play Rewind Eject. Play Rewind Eject is our tabletop card game. It uses the familiar mechanics of Kiss, Marry, Kill and Apples to Apples to show which was truly the greatest movie of all time. So to play the movie means you keep it as it always was. To rewind it means to reboot, maybe good, maybe terrible. And to eject means it's gone from the game. We're also available at bloatgames.com, and this will be coming to Kickstarter in early 2023. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, I'm Bree. I'm here from Lucky Duck Games to talk about Oros. Oros is a worker placement game of tile sliding and colliding where you're trying to build those tiles into mountains where you can place shrines to earn endgame points and become the strongest demigod. We're also talking about Once Upon a Line, a fantastic game coming to Kickstarter in January where you are scratching off words on a crossword style grid to uncover a fantastic storyline. Find out more at luckyduckgames.com.
And we're back. Hello. Matt Jarvis is gone. I've taken him over. I'm Alex Meehan. I'm still here with Chase Carter.
Hi,
and
hi.
we're going to talk about some more games that we played at PAX Unplugged. Chase and I played a wonderful dexterity game called Kabuto Sumo.
Oh,
What? Kabuto Sumo has been out for a couple of years actually. I remember when the Kickstarter was released. The artwork is done by Quantai Mura, who I'm a big fan of. And this is a fun little dexterity game that I spotted on the show floor, and I was like, I wanted to play this for ages. We're finally going to take the opportunity. And yeah, it's a game where you are beetles, bugs,
insects of different kinds, yeah.
Yeah. And you're competing as sumo wrestlers
Yeah, on a stump.
on a stump, yeah, as bugs do.
Yeah, sure.
And you are trying to basically knock one of your opponents off of the stump before you get knocked off. And your beetles are represented by these discs, lovely wooden discs. They feel very thick and
Oh,
smooth.
yeah, they're
and-
meaty little wooden pegs.
Yeah. And you also have these other discs of varying shapes and sizes, mostly sizes. They're all sort of circular.
Along with each bug has a special weapon as well.
Exactly. You, as a dung beetle,
I was
had
a dung beetle, yeah.
Yep, you had a big pile of poo.
I bit big old ball of poo,
Yeah, big poo boy. And I had it was a cactus.
Oh yeah, you were Cactus Jack.
Cactus jacked, yeah, because absolutely jacked, exactly. Yeah, and our other player, Veronica, had like a antlers, like I can't remember what they're called, the beetles that had the
you
horns.
had the mandibles of like a Hercules beetle. So-
Yeah. And basically what you do on your turn is that you have this little wooden, like, cardboard thing that you can kind of slide around the circular board.
Right, little staging area, and you put your disc on there and just give it a steady shove until it crosses the board and is all the way on there, and try to push off other things. It's like, I'm not sure if in the UK you have in arcades the little thing where you put a coin in and it drops and just pushes other
We have
coins
loads
out.
of those.
Okay,
yeah,
it's a
I'm
lot
very
like
familiar
that,
with
right?
The coin pushing machines.
Yeah.
So it is like you're operating a coin pushing machine, but you're like pushing the disc onto the board and seeing what drops off. Because whatever drops off, you get to take into your inventory
Yeah.
and use throughout the game. So, arguably the larger pieces are the best ones to get.
Right.
Because that means that they push other pieces.
Yeah, you just more mass to push around.
More mass to push around, exactly. And then your special little piece that you get, depending on the shape and size of it, will have like different advantages.
Right, like the poo ball,
Poo ball,
if you
yeah.
will, was just like really big, and so just made a big presence. But your cactus was like long and had
Long.
little things.
Long
and so
dude.
sometimes you would sort of pierce it in, but other times you turned it sideways and just got a real big lateral push.
Exactly. Those, we were told, those little pieces you usually have to earn
Yeah.
in the game, but the version that we were playing, we just had them from the very start.
Yeah.
And basically, you want to either be the person who pushes the other enemy, one of the other enemy beetles off, represented by their little colored piece, or you don't want to be eliminated. So in a free-player game, you'll be eliminated if you run out of pieces to
Yes.
use, which almost happened to me.
Several times.
Or several times, yeah. But ultimately, you want to be the one who pushes one of the enemy beetles off.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it, James.
Yeah, I did too. I spent a lot of time like just kind of trying to position myself and push things in because I was very close to the edge, which meant I didn't get to go on the offensive a lot. So there is that sort of like balance there.
Yeah, we were absolutely destroyed by Veronica and absolute master of the game. It was really enjoyable, yeah, but a little bit of thinking, but a lot of fun, I think.
Yep.
The other game we played is a game called Septima.
Yes.
Which I'm not quite sure of the release date. I know that they had a Kickstarter, possibly next year, but don't hold me on that. It is a wonderful game about witchcraft.
Yes.
So it's named after the head of the witches, Septima, who is stepping down from her
Yes.
post. So as rival witches of varying covens, you want to prove that you are the witch who should be taking over the position. So you've got a series of rounds represented by the different seasons, and what you want to do is basically do witchy stuff.
Yeah, collect ingredients, brew potions so that you can cure illnesses in the village, which will gain you some notoriety. But then the other cool thing is certain witches will be captured by witch hunters and then go on trial. And what you want to do is gain followers loyal to you and stack the court so that whenever the trial goes on, it swings in your favor, which was a really interesting mechanic.
Yeah, it's got some very interesting core mechanics. One of them was the witch trial. Another one was to do actions, you play cards from your hand. Everyone has the same hand. And if you play the same card as another person on that turn, then you get to do 2 actions rather than just one.
Right.
The downside of that is that you get suspicion
Yes.
thrown on you by the local community who don't understand that witches are good. And the more suspicion you get, the more likely it is that a witch hunter will find you and take one of the witches from your coven.
Put them on trial, yeah.
Yeah, put them on trial. One thing you can do is at the end of every season, one of the witches, well, if there's more than one, they'll both go on trial. And yeah, you want to try and stop them from losing the trial because it's very bad. And you want to recruit them into your coven.
Yes.
Because the more witches you have, the more little advantages you get.
Yeah, little passive abilities for each one.
Yeah, and that's another interesting kind of little mechanic there. The one thing we didn't get to experience was you get little animal familiars that you can choose to turn into, which will help lower your suspicion levels. So if you're like, if the heat is on you at that time, you can choose to turn into a frog.
Yeah, you just become a fox or an owl or a frog and just go to bush for a bit.
Yeah,
until the heat dies down.
Yeah, and people don't suspect a frog.
No one
It's
suspects
just
a
doing
frog.
its froggy thing.
Yeah, it's just
exactly.
poking along.
Definitely not brewing potions or
saving
healing
the
the
community.
sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting game because we were discussing that it's like a balance between collaboration of, seeing, because you can tell people what you plan to play.
Yes, that's open information. You can discuss this, but you don't have to tell the truth.
Exactly. And sometimes playing the same thing as someone else is bad for them because it means that it casts more suspicion on
Right,
them.
and you might push them above, and then a witch hunter takes them out of the way, which gives you just enough time to gain more power and put yourself in the position to become Septima.
Yeah, so you collect victory points throughout the game by brewing potions, recruiting witches, generally, doing sort of
Witchy
collecting ingredients, things like that.
Exactly.
And at the end of all the seasons, whoever has the most victory points wins.
Yeah, I really like that tension between trying to work together as a community, which most covens, like in witchy stuff, like they do follow that sort of thematic, but also someone's gonna win the game, someone's gonna become Septima, so you kind of have to balance that, internal, how ambitious you are with how much you want to save your fellow witch.
And the thing that really stands out for the game, I think, besides the mechanics, is the art style is
Beautiful. Yeah.
it's just astonishingly beautiful.
Yeah, it's got a nice, like, sort of like hand-drawn, sort of like rustic look to it, which
Yeah.
is just gorgeous.
It definitely evokes that feeling of witchcraft community,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think if you like that sort of aesthetic, this game will definitely fit within your wheelhouse. And they're still trying to tweak the design. There was a lot of
Yeah.
unfinished stuff, but the aesthetic, I think, is really set in, and it's one of the game's selling points.
Yeah, we saw people sort of stopping
Oh,
as
yeah.
they were coming around
It's
and like
one of those
looking at
games,
it, and
yeah.
we had to actually like wait quite a bit to try and like get it because they only had one demo table, but we managed to get a playthrough, so that was great. Love Septima, and yeah, that's everything for the last day of PAX Unplugged
Pretty good haul.
2022. I've had a good time.
Same here.
Yeah.
Lovely.
And I hope you've had a wonderful time watching our coverage. If you want to see more PAX Unplugged things, we've got our tabletop awards. The winners were announced this weekend. Very exciting. Otherwise, stay on this channel and watch more of our wonderful stuff. Or go to dicebreaker.com, where Chase and I
Oh, yeah.
usually hang out.
Yeah.
And we'll be writing more articles about what we've seen at PAX Unplugged, as well as very exciting things that we found out. But aside from that, thank you for watching. Subscribe, click the bell icon, and have a lovely day.